What am I talking about? I can't remember. They say wisdom begins when you realize that you don't know. This is what it looked like when I tried to log in and get the statements. So last time I looked, it was around break even, and the trader was doing well until the announcement of the unemployment figures in the US, which suddenly made the markets move a lot, and it moved against the trader. We'll see, because basically those figures have been walked back, so I don't know what's going to happen Monday. But either way, this is what the trader looks like when things go against it. This is totally normal, and I'm not even the least bit concerned. So we're hovering around the break even, and we're just waiting for things to move. Fact number one. If you're 51% correct on the markets, you will make money. Fact number two, 90% or thereabouts of all traders lose money. None of these people would have committed their money if they thought they didn't know what the market was going to do. What this tells us is a large number of traders have a story about reality that isn't true. And so they committed their money to the market and then lost it. Trading with your own money really tunes you into what you know versus what you think you know. Now, I've been trading for over 20 years now, and my narratives have come and gone. And one of the main narratives that came and went was economics. Every time I used the economics training I received in university, I lost money. And that tells me that my economic narrative doesn't fit reality. When I lived in the US, I was in contact with a number of spiritual people. In the US, there's a lot of different spiritual groups, and each spiritual group had their own narrative. And each narrative explained reality. In the broadest sense, they had a series of causal relationships that could be expressed as X causes Y. And it could be anything. For example, if you circle clockwise during an energy healing over a chakra, you'll cause harm. If you go anti-clockwise, you'll cause good. All successful narratives have successful defenses, otherwise they'll get taken down. And one of the most successful defenses is when the participants refuse to allow an interrogation of whether X causes Y. For example, if you do X and Y doesn't happen, there's two possibilities. One is X wasn't done properly. The other one is X doesn't cause Y. But if you refuse to look at, or if it's taboo to look at the possibility that X does not cause Y, then you're only left with one possibility. X wasn't done properly. And this defense allows the narrative to operate free from any interruption from reality. People will just constantly go to, oh, well, X was not done properly. Now, you might think this is completely unrelated to what we're talking about, but consider this. So when I talk to an economist and I go, supply and demand don't equal price, don't determine price, what they say is, show me the evidence. So I do. Then they go, and this is the kicker, well, you're not interpreting the evidence correctly. If you interpret the evidence correctly, then X will determine Y. Supply and demand will determine price. So the supply of houses went up relative to the population, but price didn't go down, it went up. Therefore, we have to find the causes within X that caused the price to go up. And therefore, supply and demand will always determine price. Now, this is the narrative structure. It does not allow you to actually test the narrative with evidence, because you can always find something. You can always find mitigating factors. Always. Reality is huge and abundant with mitigating factors. If an economist feels I'm wrong, or I'm teaching blasphemy, if you will, then I invite them to come onto the market and show us how it's done properly. You got to find the key causes, the dominating cause and effect in a system. As an academic, when I made sophisticated agent-based models that reflected society, they were very, very complicated. And the feedback I got was, this is a black box. It's too complicated. With so much complication, you could create anything you wanted. When I made simple agent-based models, they said, it's not realistic. is too simple. This is complexity science. However, complexity science is not necessarily complex. This is actually very, very simple. And when I explain the model, you'll go, that's fantastically simple. This is the toy trader. And we have 400 agents, 400 people in here. They are all given $100, pounds, whatever. They all are all given 5 toys. Now, the desired inventory, we're going to change the desired inventory, but we're going to start with 5. So if the inventory gets below 5, they will raise the price. And if it gets above 5, they'll lower the price. So basically, it goes like this. If you look at it from the point of view of a single agent, the single agent first goes, I need to buy a toy. So they buy a toy at the lowest price they can find. Now, if someone buys a toy from them, they'll hand over the toy at the agreed price. Then they will check their inventory. If it's high or low, they will adjust their price accordingly. That's it. That's all that goes on in this simulator. So the first question I'd like to ask is, what do you think is going to happen to price and equality? We have a system with 40,000 money in it and 2,000 toys. And if you divide that, you end up with a price of 20. Can you guess where the price is going to go when I start running this model? And do remember emergent behavior. If you recall the earlier videos when I was demonstrating how emergent behavior, even in the simplest systems, gives rise to very unusual behavior. This is an emergent system, just like the real economy is. We press go, which means start basically. So we start the model and you'll notice the average price is starting to come up. The Gini coefficient is starting to come up. The wealth histogram shows you, so the agents on the far left are the poorest agents, and the agents, and they get progressively wealthier as you move to the right. And the graph height shows you how many agents are sitting at that level. You'll now notice that the price is rising, and the Gini is, well, it looks stable at about 3. And there goes the price. Up she goes, up she goes. The price has just gone above 100. Now this is very significant because if the price is above 100, it means that some agent necessarily can no longer afford the toys. If I started the simulator with a price of 105 and all the agents having 100, not a single agent would be able to afford any of the toys. What's happened is the money's redistributed in accordance with the Gini coefficient. You can see it coming up here. And this is measuring the distribution of money. I have it set for money only. So it's only tracking the distribution of money. And what's happening is the richer agents are starting to dominate the market. And you can see that in the number of trades. The number of trades is starting to fall. That's because the poorer agents are no longer able to purchase toys. And so the volume starts coming down. This is very similar to the housing markets in most Western countries. If you look at the long-term turnover, you'll actually see that it's coming down, but the price is shooting up. And the price, as many young people realize, the price of houses are out of reach of many people now. And if I run it forward some more, you'll see it levels off just under 0.5. The number of trades are coming down. Well, of course they're coming down because there's a lot of poor agents that can no longer afford the toy. So they're being forced out. They can no longer consume. So trade is coming down, but that doesn't deter the price, even though there's a lot of agents no longer able to purchase the toy. In other words, demand is falling rapidly. But because money is demand, not human beings are demand, money is demand, and there's still money in the system, you can see it's still running close to 0.5, the price is still going up. And up it goes. And trade is slowly dropping. Okay, I'm going to stop here for now. I just want to see if there's any feedback about whether it's going too fast, too slow, too detailed, not detailed enough. I've tried to keep to the basics. not over explain things. There's a lot of things I could add. We could talk about this for hours, just this part, and we've only got started. There's so many different settings and so many different possibilities with this very, very simple trader. For example, right now all the consumers can see all the sellers in the system, but what if they can only see those close to them? How does that change the system? This is something that can never be explored using an equation-based model. And it does impact, it greatly impacts the system, and we'll be probably getting into that next week. We'll see. So yeah, if anyone's got feedback, love to hear it. And that's it for now. See you next week.